Ways to haze myself every day.
Alright,
Something new every day.
press the right arrow when you are ready to get started.
Excellent. Oh, thank goodness. Hi, my name is Abdur-Rahman. I'm the Senior Manager of Impact Delivery, and I'm going to talk to you about quest for efficiency in sort of a comic adventure, so I'm going to get squishy on multiple levels today. And yeah, this is just going to go, right?
Yes, it will.
Cool.
Don't press that button.
So this is really about facilitating data reviews in Power BI. So for me, this is really squishy for a couple of reasons. Facilitating data reviews in Power BI, I equate to kind of like being on stage and performing. I've always kind of like being the person in the background doing the tech stuff. So being up front and like talking and performing and being live is like very strange. The reason that I really want to focus on this is that I really believe that data reviews are better in Power BI because you can get questions from a ton of people, including yourself as a facilitator, and throw them into the venue and actually interact in real time, which you can't do on paper. So this actually started when I moved into delivery in November. Somehow I thought that everything was going to be in neat little boxes, like, oh, they'll like know what everyone is doing, so we'll just go forth and analyze that. And that's usually just not true. There is no exceptionalism at City Year, so if it feels like things aren't organized at your site, it's because everything's changing all the time, a lot like these sort of things over here. So in my experience with data reviews, my first time doing that was as an evaluation manager at City Year Chicago. And I think one of the last things I did before moving to HQ was doing like a site impact data review with everybody at a retreat. And it freaked me out, and it was hard, and nobody was ready for it, and I was like, I'm leaving. And then I didn't do a data review for 2 years. And then when I got this job, it was just like, hey, guess what? You're going to facilitate monthly data reviews with the impact delivery team and other folks with HQ. So in that, I really started learning that data reviews aren't about the data, but they're really about what you want to accomplish that the data is telling you. Part of my challenge as a facilitator is that I really like data because it's cool and interesting, and visualizations are fun and playful, and colors I love. And that isn't really important to everyone because everything is relative to what their needs and wants are. So this kind of led me down 2 paths. So one is that your audience really determines what you talk about. If you have a homogenous group talking about one thing, it's going to be wildly different from a group of mixed people together talking about things and encouraging bringing their ideas out in those kinds of ways. Good conversations where you can kind of get a couple of people into that, and then others want to join in, and then they maybe wrestle around with that, and then they have like a big dance party, kind of like we did this morning, actually make people want to do that more and more frequently, so it's part of the hurdle to get over. Another thing was investing time up front. I started learning Excel after I got hired as an evaluation manager in City of Chicago, so I just like dove in and spent a lot of time up front there. With Power BI, I just try to muscle through. Eventually, I realized like I really just have to like get into this because it's taking a lot of time that I do not have to make this happen every month. So kind of having to figure out how to approach the dragon and get to the efficiency that was underneath. That for me, Power BI represented because it was new. This is just the thing. To get to where you want to go, you really just have to commit to do it, and then. So what did this actually look like? Oh no, easy, being good. So I like light lift things. I did all of these things on my phone, mostly during sessions or at my desk this week. Easy is good. Anything that is like a light lift that makes lots of things tumble down is probably what you should do. That doesn't mean that you shouldn't do new things though. So my approach for easy, good learning is clicking things until it works. I use the video game approach of this, of saving often and realizing when you hate it, throw it out and start over. Because why not? Eventually you'll get somewhere pretty good. So what this actually looked like, I have a cursive knowledge, so like I know a little bit about data warehouses and databases and stuff, so I really started with the data modeling, and I was like, this is hard, and stopping. I sat in on some eval calls, and things sounded beyond me. I was like, I'm not going to try that. And eventually I just sat down and spent 2 hours, and some stuff came out. So I really like creating from my brain and focusing on like what is the how, and just exploring different branches until they get cut off or going in different directions, and seeing where that goes. And I feel like this is a method that for me works in learning any kind of thing. And by doing that, clicking and adapting and taking what's best and leaving the rest, eventually get to a space where you feel like you're successful with something and you actually own that knowledge because you built it for yourself and you know how you got there and why. I guess Steve kind of mentioned this. I call it the adjacent possible, or actually I didn't do that. It's in a book called Where Innovation Comes From. They talk about the adjacent possible leading to innovation, and I think a lot of that experimentation is actually like going behind doors and seeing what's there. And sometimes when you do that, you find new things. So the key thing that I want to leave you with is really uniting your passion with the useful conversations that need to happen. It's, you can still love it, it's in the background, and really inviting people to focus on the how. And the most important thing, like Christina just mentioned, be bold, just do it, just lean in, go for the treasure, and the dragon's asleep, it's not gonna wake up. Thanks so much.
Questions for Tiger?
And I didn't show you much of the PowerBI stuff, but there's stuff there. I can share it. Chris and then Will.
So as an Excel user, were there any mental mind shifts or philosophy changes you had to make when you went into PowerBI?
Yeah, so one of those places where I sat in on an eval call and I was like, yeah, I'm not gonna try that. DAX, I started going into, because I'm really leaning on formulas and what they can do. I didn't want to take the time to learn that, so I had to switch away to what can I do, really focusing on the visuals and the interaction rather than modeling things out more, just to save time up front. It's probably something I would do more later as I tumble down. Will?
Knowing what you know about how data is stored here at City Year, for those of us who are looking to explore Power BI, do you have a recommendation for what one of those easy data sets to just play around with are?
Yeah, so everything that I do is actually made out of the impact monitoring report. So the one thing I do, I now have a space that I just update the file. So I download the things that are already cleaned up and organized and in the format that I want, and merge stuff from last year's report. So the reviews I have to do are prior year data versus current year data, and where we are against goals at different points in time. So yeah, it's that merging that's the thing, but all of those things exist. And so just getting to the place where I have one thing where I just here's the new stuff. Yeah.
A new way to haze yourself? Woo! Love it.
Congratulations.
I'm gonna go around this way.
Next up, we have Alex Smith.